Hey Vista, happy Monday. Hopefully you've had a chance to be with us the last couple of Sundays, or whenever you get a chance to catch the sermons that we've been doing the last couple of weeks. We've been working on a new series, so we're calling it Let's Go. The way God is shaping the series, we're coming to find it as a renewed and refreshed vision of the church globally, but also particularly the Church of Vista, and we're excited about the way God is renewing our vision for the role He has for us in His kingdom. Just yesterday, for our Sunday together, we spent time thinking about this God-ordained partnership between Paul and Barnabas. The story is actually quite fascinating. Some scholars think that Paul and Barnabas might have known each other for a long time, maybe even went to school together under the rabbinical leadership of Gamaliel. And it's actually Barnabas that helps to make a way for Paul to get connected with the Jerusalem church, the very same church that he had persecuted, of course, just months earlier in his life. And it's also Barnabas that had been originally sent to Antioch upon hearing about the work that God was doing there. And when Barnabas got there, he saw that the work was too much for just him. And he invited Paul in. He created a space for Paul. He created a firm partnership for them to work together, because he realized that the harvest was plenty in Antioch, but the workers were still few. And together, Paul and Barnabas, faithful to the Spirit and faithful to the role that God had for them, played their part in establishing the church in Antioch. And it's in Antioch that we first still hear of the word Christian being used. Little Christs, or more to the point, partisans of the Messiah, those who put the kingship of Jesus on display. And that's what we're still trying to do, put the kingship of Jesus on display. And what we're thankful for is the idea that we all have a role to play in it. You think about the differences between Paul and Barnabas. Their personalities are very different, and both were necessary for the gospel, and both worked to inform the other and bring the other into fullness, actually. There are things about Paul that were brought to fullness because of the faithfulness of Barnabas. And there are things about Barnabas that were brought to fullness because of the faithfulness of Paul. These partnerships are all throughout Scripture. People who are partnered with the Spirit, then partnering with each other to put the gospel on display. And what we're thankful for is that God has brought us into partnerships. We want to highlight a few of those. The one that I actually want to highlight for you today is New Life Fellowship Churches in Cambodia. It's a partnership that we believe is still growing, is still coming to know itself even, and to see its potential put on display. But it's one that has been developing for a while. We first came to know New Life Fellowship Churches just simply by friends of ours attending there in Cambodia. And that dream began to grow as more and more people from Vista came into contact with and fellowship with New Life. And so we've seen this partnership still beginning to grow and come to a boiling point of new life, as it were. We're thankful for this partnership. What we've been able to provide them in some ways is the financial means to see their God-shaped and God-sized vision start to come to fruition. You see, they have a really big dream. They want to plant 500 churches in Cambodia. In some ways, I think that's what they've provided for us. In the partnership that we have with them, we've learned to dream big. I don't think it's coincidental that our dream has started to be shaped around this statement. We want to reach more, to reach further. That coincides with our work with New Life. They've taught us to dream big. They've taught us to have a God-sized vision for His kingdom. You know what else they've taught us? They've taught us to pray. Not that we didn't pray before and didn't believe in the power of prayer, but they pray constantly, without ceasing, as Scripture says. And they've taught us that nothing is beneath the threshold of prayer. They've taught us that everything must be brought before our King in prayer and in petition, and all things in thanksgiving. They taught us that too. When we go to visit with them, we see that they have certainly less resources than we do, especially out in the provinces where they're planting these churches. But everything is done in prayer and petition and in thankfulness. We learn those things. So we've gotten to partner with them. We've got to provide ways for the gospel to be advanced in their lives and in their spheres of influence. We've gotten to come alongside them in some training and some events to put our King on display. And what we find here is this really beautiful moment of the Spirit at work, as the Spirit always intended to work in groups of people, in bringing cultures and personalities and partnerships together. You see, Paul is right when in Romans chapter 12 and in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, he describes the church as a body. And he says that no one part is more important than the other, and that they come together to function as it should. No one part could function fully on its own. As we have seen in the lives of Barnabas and Paul together in partnership, as we've seen in our partnership with New Life, each part of the body needs the other parts of the body to be brought to fullness, to be able to function as we were truly meant to function. A sentiment that Paul puts on display in Galatians chapter 3. Where he says there's no slave, there's no free, there's no Greek, there's no Jew, there's no male, there's no female. It doesn't mean there aren't differences in the body. These differences are actually to be celebrated in the sense of God has personalities and skills and character traits that he's put in us in order to advance his kingdom. The differences don't melt away. What melts away is the hierarchy that the world would want to place on all partnerships and all relationships. There's no hierarchy in the kingdom. There's a king around whose throne we all gather together, and we all play our part. We all lift our voice. We all tell our story of the way that the king has set us free. And so we're very thankful to be able to say yet again, yes to the Spirit. Yes to the Spirit of God as the Spirit leads us into partnership with New Life Fellowship churches. Yes to the Spirit of God when the Spirit of God tells us to lift our voice, to tell our own stories as to who he is and what he is doing, righting all the wrongs in our world and bringing all things to newness through partnership. It's this beautiful story that we have the privilege to be able to tell in partnership with many people. We'll continue to highlight some of these other partnerships as we go forward. But we're so thankful to be able to say, let's go in harmony and in unison with Christians all around the globe. We continue to say yes to God, and we continue to say, let's go. Let's continue to reach more and reach further for his glory and for the good of all of the world. Let's go.